Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and another edition of the Crowdfunding Roundup. If this is your first time here, then welcome, and thanks for joining us. As always, my videos are tabbed, so if you scroll over the play bar, you can see everything broken up into chapters, and you can just go right to the game that you're curious about. If there's a game that interests you, you can also go down into the description section, click on the link, and it will take you right to the crowdfunding campaign for that game, whether it's on Kickstarter or GameFound or BackerKit. This week we have 6 games on Kickstarter and 1 game on GameFound. Finally, I'm changing things up a little bit moving forward. I had been doing 3 videos a week. One of those videos also included a look forward at all of the campaigns of note that were completing their funding the following week. It was kind of a reminder. And one of those videos also featured the games that I played, me talking about played games. But I'm condensing things down into one video. I'm going to be shooting that Tuesday night if I can possibly get through all the game launches and know the games well enough to shoot on Tuesday night, otherwise Wednesday. And my goal is to get them posted on Wednesdays. And, you know, in a worst case scenario, they'll be coming out on Thursdays. But they will be covering everything from the previous week. So the previous Wednesday through Tuesday. The one other change that I'm making is that I'm no longer going to be trying to cover pretty much every game that launches. Instead, I'm going to be targeting the cream of the crop, in my opinion. Just trying to save everybody some time, make the video a shorter experience, and hopefully something that people will feel is more worth their time. For some of these campaigns, we'll take a look at the various videos together. We'll watch those. The ones that hopefully I've saved you some time in picking which videos are the best to watch. And those will give us a good idea of the components and the gameplay and what's happening. For other campaigns, we'll just look at the game page itself, the gameplay that's described there, and some of the GIFs. We'll also look at things like the ending date of the campaign, if it's funded or not, and the various pledges. And I'll go into a little bit more detail at the end of the video, for those of you who are interested, into why I'm making this change about cutting to one video and reducing some of the content, and what's in store for the channel in the months to come. So if that's something that you're interested in, please stick around. Without any further ado, let's get started looking at these 7 campaigns, the first of which is Zombicide White Death. Now this launched last Wednesday, which is a week ago. And oftentimes, CMON has campaigns that only last a week, so this is kind of a long campaign for them. It's still got another 13 days to go. And as you can see, they had a funding goal of $200,000. They're currently at almost $1.5 million, so they're well funded. This is, going to happen, but it's CMON, and it's a huge miniatures game, and they always kill with these. These are among the highest funded games in the entire board game industry. So this is no surprise. Now, the campaign is going to fund on April the 26th, and we're just going to start things off taking a look at this video here. Oh, I should mention that this is White Death, which is the 3rd game in their medieval fantasy series, which started with Black Plague and Green Horde. So it's sort of completing a trilogy of those games. Okay, so that is Zombicide White Death. And let's take a look at the pledge cost for this. Now, as is the case with a lot of CMON games, they've only got one pledge, and then there's a ton of stuff that you can add on. So I'm only going to cover the shipping cost for the actual initial pledge, and then if you want to add on all the extra things, you're just going to have to figure out the additional shipping on your own. But this additional pledge, the Frozen Fortress pledge, includes the core box, these Lacuna Coil limited edition survivors, there's 5 of them, and then just kind of, stretch goal extras. And as we can see down here, the shipping for this is going to be $44, which brings your total to $154. So, shipping is not cheap, but I believe it says optional buys not included. So it's going to go up the more you add on things. And there's a lot to add on, so there's a lot of room for this shipping cost to increase. But as I mentioned and the video showed you, this is the 3rd game in the medieval fantasy version of Zombicide, and that started with Black Plague, and the 2nd game was Green Horde, and they all have colors in their names, so this one is White Death. Okay, now 1 to 6 players, plays in about an hour, and if you're not familiar with this, these are kind of beer and pretzels games, rolling dice, fighting zombies, and this is, the fantasy-themed version of that. They have a lot of iterations of Zombicide. So let's just kind of scroll down and take a quick look. Obviously, the base game here is going to come with 6 survivors, 6 characters you can play. Guards, zombies, all this stuff. Khan Abomination, he's like the big boss that they were featuring in that video. Also the Necromancer, and then these various components. Okay, so these are all the various components. You've got these nice plastic dashboards, which they started doing a while ago with Zombicide. And then here are those limited edition survivors that you're getting on Kickstarter. Now, I believe these are the things that would not be included if you were eventually to find this a retail version. You also probably wouldn't be getting all of the stretch goals, anything marked Kickstarter exclusive. So some of the stretch goals may go to retail, but anything marked with this green Kickstarter exclusive symbol will only be in the Kickstarter version. So that means all of these extra survivors, and CMON is it's typical of them to give you a ridiculous amount of extra content in the Kickstarter versions. Okay, all of these extra zombies. And then, so like the update pack here, that would go into the retail version, but the update promos pack would not. And then you've got more daily unlocks, and again, the ones that are marked with the green Kickstarter exclusive banner will not go into the retail version. So, more zombies and survivors. And then here's a look at the other things that you can also add on. So they've got an additional expansion here called Eternal Empire, $45. More characters and things, some more cards, some more tokens. If we go down here, you've got a Crossfire pack. That's $35. That just gets you these specific figures and cards. And then Warlords of the Rising Sun. It's like the Crossfire pack, but, a little bit cheaper. Neither one of them are as big as this Eternal Empire. That's kind of like a full-blown expansion. So that's an extra $25. And you can also see which things are going to retail and which aren't. So like Eternal Empire will be at retail, but it won't include these 2 extra figures in it. Whereas the Crossfire pack will go to retail as is. The Warlords of the Rising Sun pack will not be going to retail at all, nor will the Warlords of the Middle Kingdom, which is another, kind of smaller expansion, equal in size to the Warlords of the Rising Sun. More cards, more characters and things. And then you've got these Berserker Walkers, a little bit smaller of a price. It's just these Berserkers and the cards, and again, this one's a Kickstarter exclusive. So, if we look at this quickly, I can just total this up in my head. Right now, we're looking at, this is $80 for the top 2, another $50, so that's $130. That makes it $150. And that's, if you add that on to the original price, that's $260 plus at least $44 in shipping. They're showing you all the stretch goals here and which ones are exclusives and which ones aren't. I'm just trying to get back to the shipping though. Yeah, so they're kind of just going through these again down here. the optional buys. So I think it's at 260. So with the shipping, that would be 304. But remember, you're going to be paying more shipping with those additional expansions. So you're looking at upwards of $305, probably $350 or possibly even more if you're going all in. And keep in mind that CMON is famous or notorious for continuing to add more content right up until a day or two before they continue funding. So it's possible you may get another pledge in here near the end that's kind of an all-in or a gameplay all-in. And it's also possible, if not likely, that there will be more expansions that will be added, over the course of the campaign. And there's still 13 days left. So there's a lot of room for this thing to really bloat out, meaning if you're going all in, by the time they finish the campaign and add in a lot more stuff, you're going to be looking at probably somewhere between $500 and $1,000 for an all-in for this. So just to be aware, I know sometimes when things launch, for a campaign like this, I look at it immediately, I'm all excited, and I think, I'm going to go all in. And then you sit there, biting your nails as more and more things get added and the overall costs escalate. And by the time, you're done, you're like, I really want to get everything. But when this thing started, everything meant $150. And now we're looking at, move the decimal point over. And that may be a lot more than you were anticipating or really can afford. And that can cause FOMO. I think CMON is really the publisher that drives FOMO. And so I think if you're a buyer and you're not really aware of it, if you haven't backed a lot of CMON games or if you haven't used Kickstarter a lot, just know that they are the company that does that the most. And just be wary of it. Sort of prepare yourself for that. So if you're a completist like me and you want to get everything and you haven't experienced in the past the way CMON works, just know that that's coming and you may want to craft yourself a mental exit route or create some mental compromises or draw some lines in the sand so that you have a plan. Because there is so much extra stuff in those CMON campaigns. You really don't need it all. I mean, they put so much into the base game that there's a lot of stuff in there. You can play that game with a lot of variability for a long time to come without even adding in anything. And so, if the cost is of worry to you, start thinking about that now and start thinking about where you may want to stop once that thing just starts to bloat. I know for me, because I'm a completist and I kind of want to have everything, it can cause me some anxiety and some emotional attachment trying to make those decisions. And every time they add more things, I kind of have to go back through it again and, figure out, do I pay more money than I wanted to pay? Or, do I just cut my ties and cut my losses and run? Do I just not get it at all? And it's sort of like every time they post new stuff, I kind of have to go through that decision-making process all over again. But I do know at this point that is typical for CMON, so I go in knowing that, and I have backed very few CMON games as a result. And, I have a lot of games. There's a lot of games out there. And so that's another thing to think about. Like, how much time are you going to actually spend on this game? Unless you have a really dedicated game group that really loves this, that's going to play this over and over and over, weeks, months, maybe even years at a time, then it's not worth getting this huge pledge that's 15 boxes or whatever it ends up being. And another thing to think about is just storage space. So these are all considerations. And I think, as I said, CMON is the most notorious for just having games that balloon up so much in price and they bloat up so much in just overall content and boxes and spaces that it takes up. So, if you're at all wavering on the fence, if financial things are an issue for it all, maybe just decide early on you're just going to go for the base game and you'll have fun with it, and it's going to have a lot of stuff just on its own. Okay, our second campaign here is called Nova Roma. This is the new game designed by Stan Kordonsky and his new company, his new shingle called Half a Kingdom Games. Now, they've produced one game before called Resurgence, and it's been really well received. It's gotten some rewards, like I think it's gotten the Dice Tower Game of the Year, at least the Seal of Excellence. But that campaign, because it was a first game produced by a new publisher, didn't do the kinds of numbers, obviously, that, you know, Simon did, but didn't even get the kinds of numbers that other Stan Kordonski games have gotten. And if you don't know him by name, he's designed stuff like Dice Hospital, Endless Winter Paleo-Americans, which has blown up. I think everyone's loving that game right now. Resurgence was the game that he did, the first game that he did through his new company. He's also designed Lock Up, a role-player tale, and Rurik Dawn of Kiev. And I believe they've had 2 campaigns for that, one initially for the base game and then one for an expansion. And he's a designer that I really, really like. But I think just because this is it's the second game under the new company, people who don't know him or know his name, may not jump on this as much as they would something like Endless Winter. The other thing is, the art is by the Miko, who I think most people know. So he designed, or I should say, he did the art for like all of the Garpel games, well, most of them. He did like the North Sea trilogy, the West Kingdom trilogy, so that's like Raiders of the North Sea, Paladins, Architects, Viscounts of the West Kingdom. He's working on their new games, Scholars and Wayfarers of the South Tigris. He's also worked on pretty much all of the Valeria games. He's done a lot of stuff like Merchant's Cove and Rise to Nobility and the upcoming Bardwood Grove. He's also done the art for those... what are they called? The Imperial games that David Turksey designed. There's 2 of them, Imperium Legends and Imperium Classics. And there's a new one coming out this year, which I'm not remembering the name of offhand. I think it begins with a C. But the Miko's art is everywhere. And I think a lot of people, if you're a gamer, you've probably played some games with his art at some point. Now, I will say that this central piece of art doesn't really look like the Miko's art. And in my opinion, the neck here is a little bit distended and odd looking. And, the legs are kind of blocky. So we see here, he's credited as the Miko. Miko Dmitrievsky, or Mahala Dmitrievsky, I think his name is. But this isn't sort of easily identifiable as his art. So I think this may be underfunding just because it's a relatively new publisher. People may not know that it's Stan Kordonski's design or, what he's done in the past. And they may not recognize this as the Miko's art. And we're not going to play the video for this one. I just think that it's not really a good indicator of the gameplay. But we are going to take a look at the campaign itself. So it says up here, help Emperor Constantine build the new capital in this immersive city-building estate management strategy board game. And this one came out last Thursday, so it's been running about a week. It might have had some of its thunder stolen by the Zombicide game that came out the day before. So if people jumped onto that, not everybody backs a lot of games. So I think most people back things, less frequently. So there are a lot of gamers, obviously, who jumped into the Zombicide game, so maybe they didn't have any bandwidth for this, which launched the next day. But as you can see, they are funded. It's taken them about a week, but they are funded. And generally, crowdfunding campaigns do about 1/3 of their business in the last day. So this is going to go up. It may even double by the time it ends up funding, but it should at least end up with 1.5 times the funding goal. And as we can see down here, the campaign will complete on April the 27th. Now, here's a look at this game, and let's see if this is the best place to see it. Yeah, I guess so. We'll probably get a closer look at the campaigns lower down. But there's a central area here where you're going to be placing workers. And when you place workers, you will get to do the action at the top of where the worker is and on the right-hand side. And you will not only do that for your worker, but you'll do that for any other workers of your same color, so workers you've previously placed, or this kind of neutral white worker. For instance, if you had, let's say, if you were red and you had 2 workers in this column and you placed a third, you're going to get the action that's on the right side of the board that lines up with the same row that you just placed in. And then you'll get 3 actions for the icon at the top of the column, 1 for each of the 3 workers that you now have in this column. And then the various other areas of the board are almost like these mini games that you'll be interacting with using those actions. So different kind of Euro ways to score and interact spread all over the board, but how you do that will determine in how you take these actions. And when you play at lower player counts, there'll be kind of dummy workers that go into some of these squares that block some of the spaces to make the gameplay tighter. At the higher player counts, there won't be anything in there, so players will just be blocking each other. And you've also got, these player boards. And I think one of the other reasons this game may not have funded so quickly is that, in my opinion, it looks a little bit rough. Some of the meeples and the kind of printing on this, it's not the most attractive that I've seen. There's a lot of these kind of generic blocks. There is a player mat that you can get, but the board's a little, kind of busy. It looks very blocky with its iconography. And, if we look down at the player boards, this is just very kind of generically Euro-y. Looks a lot like, viticulture or a million other farming games. So I can understand why people maybe didn't jump on this, not knowing that this is a collaboration between Stan and the Miko. But if you know who Stan and the Miko are, maybe give this a second look, because with both of them involved, this is definitely going to be a really solid game. Okay, so, as I said, though, here we're just kind of looking at the components, the board. We're seeing everything that's involved. And, yeah, there's also a playmat here that I think it comes with the Emperor Pledge. So if we look down here, there's 2 pledges, other than the, just throw a buck in and support them and maybe do something in the Pledge Manager. You've got the $59 pledge, which will get you everything in the game. And then we've got the $79 Emperor pledge, which throws in the neoprene mat. Now, it doesn't look like there's any way to add this on. So, you just want to pledge at the Emperor pledge level. However, usually the way, pledge managers work, if you pledge at, the patrician pledge or even the citizen pledge, if you change your mind later, you can probably increase your pledge and then go with the Emperor pledge, which would get you that neoprene mat. So here we see kind of what's going on. The first player flips a new Emperor tile, places this Emperor, which is the neutral marker that everyone will benefit from, places that on the board. And then they'll take turns with their own units, placing them out and taking the actions that are on, the right side and the top. And that is, buffeted by other workers they have and by this neutral Emperor player. And then they'll go around the various areas of the board and do actions based on those actions that they got. And they're just showing some of those areas of the board, some of the cards that are in the card, in the card market and getting placed out on top of their player board. And, this is just a quick look at this, so I'm not going to go into all of the mechanics and how everything works. But that gives you an idea of the game and the fact that it is, this really solid Euro, set in Rome. You're kind of rebuilding Rome and building it up. And so it's got some geography, it's got this kind of estate building thing, and it's also got this action selection with all of these various fun Euro mechanics. So this one's going to deliver in December 2023. I realize we never talked about when Zombicide will deliver. That's going to deliver in May 2024. Okay. All right, so that's our look at Nova Roma. Now from there, we're going to take a look at Flutter, which is a very simple tile placement game. This is, lighter gamers will definitely enjoy this. And this is from the same company that did Dungeon Drop and Drop Drive. And in this game, well, let's just take a look at the stats first here. So they had a funding goal of almost $10,000. They're at $22,500, so they're funded. All 3 of these games so far are funded. And actually, Flutter is the first of the games that launched on Tuesday of this week. So this just launched a couple days ago, whereas the other 2 games launched last week, and they've had a longer run in their campaigns. Everything that we're going to be looking at now has only been up for 24 to 36 hours. Well, maybe 48 hours, because I'm shooting this on Thursday morning. Okay, so this one's funded as well, though, and it will complete its campaign on May 5th, And if we just look ahead, we're seeing that this will deliver in December of 2023 as well. Okay, so this is a tile placement game that's based around butterflies and flowers and honeybees. And here's a quick look at the components. This is a cheaper game compared to those other two, especially the Simon game. But you're getting, cardboard components for the most part here. And as we go down, we get a look at kind of how this plays. There's also this wood edition. It's also got this nice, storage container where everything just slots in really easily. So that's cool. Okay, you're also going to get a metal sun token in the Kickstarter edition. But if we go down here, we see you're going to select a tile, from these various tile stacks, and then you'll place it. And what's going to happen is that, see as it goes down, when you match up these flower petals, you'll actually get them as income. Where you have not matched them, where they're not matching, you'll have to pay those. And then if there's something on the flat side that's not matching, you'll also have to pay some penalty flowers. So you're going to be placing tiles, you're going to be getting some petals and paying some petals, and then you'll be also placing out these honeybees. And whenever the honeybees are completely enclosed by tiles, that will score you endgame points. So that's the basic gameplay of this. It's fairly simple. And as we can see over here in terms of pledges, they've got this $29 version. So that is the cardboard version. And then they've got this $54 pledge, and that is the limited version where everything is wood. Plus, it's got this nice storage container. I don't think they have that. No, they don't have that for the cardboard one. And then there's just, retailers, multiple copies for retailers. So if we're looking at how much this would cost in the continental US, inclusive of shipping, we're looking at, let's see, so it's $15 for either pledge, which means the cardboard one is going to come to about $44, and the wood version is going to come in around $69. So those are your two pledges for that. And again, this is from the designer and the publisher of Dungeon Drop and Drop Drive. All right, from there, we're continuing looking at games that launched this week on Tuesday. This next one is Fractured Sky. It's from Ivy Games. They've done a few games. They've done Moonrakers. They did Mythic Mischief, and they did Veiled Fate. So I believe this is their fourth game. And this one had a goal of $100,000. In less than 48 hours, they're already at $750,000. These games are pretty well produced and have nice pieces to look at. This one's no exception. In fact, there's two different deluxe versions of this game. And the super deluxe one, it has some amazing ships. And the way these pledges work is that the deluxe version is not going to go to retail, but maybe produced again in the future, whereas the super deluxe version, this is a one-time only. So if you like the ships that they're showing in the super deluxe version, you'll want to back this campaign and get it now. And this campaign will end on May 1st, and obviously this is going to fund. So let's take a quick look at this video, and you can see what all of the components look like and have some of the gameplay described to you by the publishers, producers, and designers of this game.
Fractured Sky is unlike anything in your collection.
It combines mechanics that are familiar and intuitive in an entirely new way that leads to incredibly engaging moments around the table.
There's strategic construction of buildings, climactic battles over victory points and resources, a tight economy that asks you to choose between long and short-term gains. There's a hint of deduction, and the thrill of knowing information that nobody else around the table knows.
You can learn about all of this and more in the overview, how to play, and playthrough videos you'll find on the page.
Now let's talk about what else you'll find on the campaign, starting with something you won't find on the campaign.
Which is traditional stretch goals. Because every upgrade normally locked behind stretch goals is already included.
Black core cards, spot UV, linen finish, box wraps, and thick, high-density cardboard, already in every version. Then, if you opt for the deluxe version, get ready. There are 176 miniature plastic pieces, unique airship designs for each faction, custom player trays, holographic cards, and magnets.
Magnets.
Each and every one of these upgrades was designed to make the playing experience more fun. Except the holographic cards, those are just cool.
I also think they're more fun.
We have tons of previews and thoughts from people who aren't us on the page, so make sure to check those out.
And let's move on to the campaign rewards. There's 3 tiers: Retail, Deluxe, and Super Deluxe.
And they're all fun.
Retail is what you'd expect to find at retail. All cardboard. Really nice cardboard.
Deluxe turns almost everything cardboard into plastic and makes it 3D. This edition is what we call a timed exclusive. We're not ordering any extras in the first print run, but we might in the future, someday, maybe.
Super Deluxe adds a holographic box and objective cards, and machine-painted minis to the mix. This tier is a full Kickstarter exclusive. There will never be another way to get it outside of crowdfunding.
Everyone who backs the campaign at any level will get a full set of Kickstarter exclusive lenticular Starfall cards included for free with your pledge.
Additionally, there's another way to add more free things to every pledge.
But you have to undertake a little hunt for some Starfalls.
We're not going to spoil it too much, but it's quite the puzzle.
We are glad you're here. We hope you find Fractured Sky as easy to love as we do. Good luck on your hunt, and we hope that you are granted your greatest wish.
All right, so that is the Fractured Sky campaign, and obviously, as they talked about in there, there's some kind of puzzles on the page, and you can try to solve those if you want to get some extras for the game as well. But as far as those 3 pledges that they outlined, let's take a look at those with the shipping. I'm not going to go through the page anymore because they described, I think, the different pledge levels so well, and we're not going to get more of the gameplay, in a quick video than what they talked about. So, okay, here we go. Shipping, charges, and rates. So in the continental US, we're looking at $16, and for that retail edition, that's the cardboard one, that means you're looking at a $65 total pledge. For the deluxe edition, with all the plastic and the magnets, you're looking at $145. So, that's a $100 jump. Then if you want those machine painted minis, that's actually not as much of a jump, but it's another $50. So it's $194 for that, super deluxe edition with the machine painted minis and just kind of everything as pretty as it possibly could be and never to be produced again. But that is Fractured Sky. From there, we're going to take a look at the Royal Limited, which is the latest Button Shy card game. This one's designed by Scott Alms. It is a solo game. He's designed a bunch of Button Shy games and some other solo games. Button Shy, if you're not familiar with them, produce these 18-card wallet games. Sometimes they put out expansions. Usually when they do, they are 6-card expansions, so they'll do maybe 3 of them, and it will, again, equal 18 cards. But they just have these wallet games, and I think if people have heard of them, they've probably heard of Sprawlopolis and its sequels like Naturopolis, Agropolis, as well as Tussie Mussy, which was designed by Elizabeth Hargrave, the designer of Wingspan. But Scott Alms has made a few of these as well, and this is, these are cheaper games to produce. They normally have a funding goal of $2,000, which means this is just insanely well funded for that funding goal. It's over $40,000 in about 2 days' time. It's a shorter campaign, so it's going to complete on April the 22nd. So if this is something that you're interested in, you want to probably jump on this. Oh, also, I think I've been skipping. Let's go back. I think I've been skipping these delivery dates. So Flutter is also December 2023, just like Nova Roma was. Fractured Sky is going to deliver in January of 2024. And the Royal Limited is probably much sooner because it's a smaller wallet game. So yeah, August 2023. This one's probably almost ready to go. Now, we're not going to take a look at the video here. Do know that it is a solo-only game, and that it's themed around putting people on a train. And these are some of the other Button Shy games that are purely solo that they've made. Food Chain Island, I've heard of this one. This is probably the one that I'm the most well acquainted with. Well, and Unsurmountable. And this one, I believe, is also Scott Alms. And they've also got Ugly Griffin Inn, Fishing Lessons, and now they've got this, the Royal Limited. So here, this is kind of the gameplay lined up. So over the course of 4 rounds, place train cars and fill them with passengers to get the best score you can. Start each turn by drawing 5 train cards from the deck. These can be placed horizontally as new train cars on the line or placed vertically underneath an existing car as a passenger. Each card shows a ticket symbol in a specific color and with a specific numerical value. To add a new train car, 2 conditions must be met. First, the card being placed can't share the same color or number with the previous car in the line, so this needs to be different than this in both color and number. Secondly, you must pay for the card by discarding a number of cards equal to its value. Each train car can hold a single passenger, and passengers can be placed without any cost. However, the passenger must match either the color or the symbol of the train car. When the passenger is placed, the filled trains car special rule activates. This might cause you to draw or discard cards, add restrictions to your next action, or otherwise impact your game. So you're going to be wanting to place train cards, well, first of all, based on whether you can or not, but also based on passengers that you then want to put in the train cars to trigger the abilities on the train cars. You might also play one of the VIP cards. While there are 10 possible VIPs, only 2 will be available in each game. And I'm guessing, since this is an 18 card game, that the other side of these VIP cards will be, some of the train cards and things that you'll be using in the game. So you'll probably be picking 2 of these at random and then, reshuffling the other cards back in with the rest of the cards you'll be using in the game. VIPs are placed similarly to passengers, though they have additional numerical requirements that make them more difficult to satisfy and more valuable for scoring. There's no limit to the number of train cars and passengers you can place in a turn, but the challenge is in choosing which ones to prioritize and which to let go. At the end of each round, any unplayed cards are discarded. After the 4th round, tally up your score. In this game, a low score is better. Count up all unplayed cards and unfilled train cars to see how well you did. So you're trying to get everything placed out. You're just trying to move things out of your hand. Now, if we take a look, well, I think shipping's usually, maybe $5 on these. Let's see. Yep, $5. So first of all, you've got a print and play pledge level. You can just print this for $3, play it at home. If you want to get the game itself, you're looking at $17, which will get you the 18 card game and the free second line expansion. So the second line expansion over here is a 4 card expansion, and that will be $17. Now, if you want to go down here and throw in Murder on Board, that's going to get you this expansion, which is 3 more cards. And that's going to come out to a total of $19. And then once we go further down, you're looking at pledges that throw in additional games. So this will get you all of those, solo-only games that they kind of advertised at the top. This is going to be a $55 pledge level, and it will come with both of the mini expansions for the Royal Limited. And then if we keep going down, this is $85. This will get you all of those solo games and all of their various expansions. And then this is for retailers. So that's a quick look at the various pledges. It's another 18 card game from Button Shy, and cheaper than a lot of other games, obviously, because the components, it's smaller and it fits in your wallet, so it's super portable. You can kind of just take it anywhere, and then if you have some spare time out while you're living your life and having your day in a coffee shop, wherever at work, it's something that's easy to just kind of put out and play and pick back up. Okay, from there we're going to look at the new Santorini campaign. I'm impressed by this for multiple reasons. It has a funding goal of $74,000. They're already well funded at $427,000 almost. And the reason that I'm so excited for this is that I just was never really that into Santorini. It's an abstract game, kind of simple. I'd be fine to play it, but it's not really a game that I would buy and have on my shelf and reach for. However, Roxley has gone all out and made this incredibly, no stops, beautiful edition. But the cherry on the top, and the thing that really has me interested in this, and I've actually backed this, is that there is this cooperative campaign edition where you're going through a puzzle book, and it makes it cooperative, and it's a campaign, and you get to play together, and it's kind of an ongoing thing, and you're, instead of just playing regular Santorini, which obviously you're going to still be able to do in the most pretty way possible, you also get to solve these puzzles as part of a campaign. So let's take a look at the video because it outlines all of this really well. And I think, if you're like me and there's been reasons maybe you haven't gotten Santorini in the past, this could be the thing that makes you really interested in it.
The Spiel des Jahres recommended Santorini is back with the long-awaited Pantheon edition from Roxley Games, featuring a plethora of all new and revised god powers. Pantheon edition also features a modular vac tray system, an expanded ocean board with a 3D foundation frame that locks buildings into place, and 72 beautifully remastered buildings. Santorini is a pure strategy masterpiece, so quick and easy to teach that it has become a staple in board game cafes all over the world. On your turn, move one of your workers, then build in a neighboring space. You may move up one level or move down any number of levels. If your worker steps up to the third level, you win.
Win? Enough games. I prefer riddles. It was here before it started, and it will be here after it ends. I'm hoping that you'll lose it. Though we share it, and we're friends. What is it?
And now you can expand Santorini with a new 1 to 4 player fully cooperative experience. Riddle of the Sphinx. Free the citizens of Santorini from the clutches of the Sphinx in endlessly replayable puzzles, each adding new gameplay never before seen in Santorini, such as resource management, boss battles, and more. Each puzzle features 3 increasingly challenging objectives, which can take multiple plays to master. Return to the adventure map after each game, where you will spend the objective points you've earned to unlock new god powers and choose where you'd like the adventure to go next. Back now to receive the collector's editions of Santorini and Riddle of the Sphinx. Can you solve the riddle of the Sphinx?
Okay, so, I mean, if you're looking for anything, I think for, a family or even for gamers, I think that the whole puzzle edition gives this so much more. You still got the great original game, the abstract game that so many people love in its most beautiful form ever. And you can still play that just by itself. You can even just order that, just back that. But then you've got this other thing that I think transforms what Santorini is and what it can be and what it can do, and just offers so much more variability in terms of the gameplay itself. Also, Roxley, let's take a quick look at this Santorini Pantheon. Let's take a quick look over here at Roxley because they make some of the best produced games out there, in my opinion. Riddle of the Sphinx. Here we go. There's Pantheon edition. They did the 2 new brass games, Birmingham and what's the other one called? Birmingham and Lancashire. And okay, so they've done Radlands. They do all the Dice Throne stuff, Steampunk Rally, Super Motherlode. Yeah, just super, super beautiful, well-produced stuff. Skyrise they have coming next year, which looks pretty amazing. Okay, so I think I already mentioned, this campaign will end on the 28th, and the game will deliver in May 2024. So this is, I think, even further out than Zombicide. Now, the same month as Zombicide, this is delivering. So this is a ways out. And, I mean, the components are just gorgeous. But that also means it's going to be more expensive than, you know, your average game. The original's still out there. So if all you want is, you know, regular Santorini, you probably already have it and you can still go get it. But let's take a look at what you can get here. See, I pledged for everything. But if you just want an upgrade kit, if you already have the original and just want an upgrade kit, you know, to get all the nice new components and that locking game board and stuff, you want the upgrade kit, and that's going to run you, what is it? It's $9 here in US. So it's about 59 bucks just for the upgrade kit. Now, if you want to pledge just the Riddle of the Sphinx, so you already have, you know, the base game, and maybe you don't want the upgrade kit, you just want to play this new expansion, but you do need the pieces for it. So you can use the old pieces, but you do need pieces. So that also would cost you 59 bucks. Now, if you want to get the new version, that's this Pantheon edition, that's going to cost 75. And then if you wanted to get the upgrade kit with Riddle of the Sphinx, so you still have the old game, you're trying to just kind of put everything together, you don't need the new Pantheon edition because you're going to upgrade it, you're looking at 103 bucks. And then if, like me, you didn't have it in the past, so you want to get the nice new edition and you want to get the Riddle of the Sphinx campaign, you're looking at $119. So those are the prices for this, and obviously Roxley is just, in terms of production on their games, I think they're right up there with like Chip Theory games, CMON, at least in terms of, you know, their miniatures, like Orange Nebula that does Vindication and Unsettled. I'm really impressed by their components, but just some of the nicest produced stuff out there in all of gaming. So obviously you are going to be paying a little bit more for that. Also, there's this upgrade here. So whichever thing you're ordering, if you're ordering the upgrade kit, you can pay an extra $9 to get these synth cards. And then if you're getting either of these, you need to upgrade $9 for each. So if you're getting both, you'd want, you know, it'd be an $18 upgrade. But that will give you these synth cards, which are made from PVC. They've put a lot of development into this. So as you can see, they don't bend. They don't keep the bend. And I believe they're also waterproof. And so you don't need sleeves with these. You would never need sleeves with these cards. So they're a little bit extra if you want to do that upgrade. And that upgrade is not in any of the pledge prices. But that would, you know, make it so you never have to sleeve the cards. And they're the best quality cards for this you're ever going to find, I think. There's a lot of, you know, content creators here if you want to watch more gameplay videos and learn more about this, but this is obviously the best version we're likely to ever see of Santorini, and it's got this amazing new campaign cooperative puzzle system. Okay, the last game of this week of the video is Thorgal, the board game. And this one is going to complete its campaign on April the 29th. They had a funding goal of $33,000 and they're at 93, so they're funded. This is going to fund. There is, let's see, one pledge for this, which is, and as you can see, I did this one too. But this is $95. And then if we go down here, you know, there's a couple add-ons. I think if you were following this before the campaign started, you're going to be getting these companion cards for free. Otherwise, you can add them on for $5 or $6. Also, I'm not sure, but it may work that if you follow this and then pledge, you'll still get these. So I'm not sure if you need to be following the campaign ahead of time. So if you are interested in this, once we look at the video and you go to pledge it, follow it first, and there's a chance you'll get these companion cards for free. And then this upgrade to wooden polyomino tiles is about $16. So these are the only two stretch goals. There's only one pledge, and so it doesn't include these. So if you wanted these, you would need to add them on. Okay, so shipping here. Well, let's keep this number in mind. This is 16. So shipping. Oh, it's a euro. It's a euro price, which makes it a little hard for me. We're just going to assume the higher. I always assume the higher price in a range, just so I'm not kind of hit later and surprised. So let's see. Okay, so it's $30 in shipping. It's not cheap because it's coming, you know, from Europe, which means if you are pledging this This would be roughly $125, including the shipping. And then if you wanted these, you're looking at about $140. And what is Thorgal, you say? Because we haven't really gone into that at all. Well, it is a cooperative game. It's got deck building in it. If we go over here, we can see it's being produced by Portal Games. And I like them. I think they're a really good publisher. But it's got stuff like deck construction, dice rolling, hand management, multiple maps, scenarios. It's a campaign game, variable player powers. You can play it solo. It's based on a French comic. If you're in France, you probably know it. If not, maybe not so much. But here's some of the stuff that Portal has done, because they've produced a lot of really good games. Although this is kind of also showing some of the translations that they've done. So I'm just going to skip down to the stuff that I know that they themselves have made, which includes Robinson Crusoe, Adventures of the Cursed Island. They're having some problems with their most recent Kickstarter campaign for this. I think it was on GameFound, actually. But it should be delivering soon-ish. And I wouldn't fault them for that. They're getting a lot of negative feedback because that campaign's been delayed a little bit. But Portal, in my opinion, is a great publisher. And I wouldn't let the fact that this massive crowdfunding campaign is going a little bit long dissuade you from backing Thorgal. Let's see, they've also published, well, like 51st State, the whole Imperial Settlers line, from the original game to the Roll and Write to the Settlers of the North spin-off. The Detective and Modern Crime game is theirs. And some other games that kind of are using that system. There's like a Batman game. There's 51st State. They just have published so many games for Europe, like republished other publishers' games, or taken care of it on that side. But they aren't original designs of theirs. Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North, that's theirs. So I'm just, and I know kind of what is theirs, I just don't know everything off the top of my head. Pret-a-Porter, that's theirs. It's a great fashion designing game. So I'm just trying to kind of cull through what I know is not theirs and what I know is theirs, just to kind of hit more stuff that they have produced on their own end. And the head of Portal Games is Ignacy Trebicek, and great designer. Oh, Stronghold, that's one of theirs. Okay, I think that's kind of enough. Stronghold 2nd edition. Let's see. I actually hadn't realized that they'd sort of done the European publishing for so many other games. 11 Football Manager card game, that is theirs as well. Okay, so Thorgal is based on this French comic. It's going to be this kind of adventure-y, campaign-y game. It's got deck construction, hand management, some dice rolling. And they're funded, you know. And we've already gone over the pledges, so let's just take a look at the video, and then we'll wrap this up, and I'll talk about some of the changes to the channel.
We are going on a journey once again. Get ready for adventures in many lands and many challenges.
Let me out, or you will regret it.
Each adventure has its goal. You choose how to get there.
This forest is full of strange. Be careful.
Get an advantage.
Today, you will be free.
Or fight like a Viking.
Attack!
Create an epic team and decide together how to win. Develop the experience, because fate is in your hands. I promise many adventures, because I am a child from the stars. Because I am Thorgal. Pledge now.
Okay, so that is Thorgal the board game, and that one is going to deliver. I think that's the one piece of information I didn't mention. Oh, right, it's actually hard to find. It's not really listed on the page, and I had to go hunting. But they're saying that it's going to fund in the first half of 2024. I mean, it's going to deliver in the first half of 2024. So for me, I just always assume the end of any ranges, and that way you're covered and you're not disappointed. So let's say that this is going to deliver in June of 2024, which is the furthest out. I think Santorini and Zombicide were May 2024. So about the same time, but they've given themselves a little bit more range. Thank you very much for joining me and taking a look at these campaigns with me. And if you're not interested in hearing kind of some of the backstory about why the changes are coming, or, you know, what other changes are coming to the channel, then thank you and have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week if you want to come back. And these videos should be getting published on Wednesdays in the future. Thursdays, if it's a really bad week and things come up and make it hard for me to get it published on Wednesday, but in general, Wednesdays is when these should be coming out once a week from now until the end of eternity. Who knows? And again, please like and subscribe. That's the best way to support this channel at this time. Okay, now for those of you who are interested, I started doing this a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, and managing a website called thinkoutsideTheBoard.com. And originally I was going to do some podcasts, and then the pandemic happened, and so I focused more on some video content and just kind of running that website. And the website originally had two kinds of posts. One were crowdfunding roundup posts that I would do every day, and those could take several hours a day. I'd also have handpicked posts where I'd go into greater detail about certain games, kind of like games that I was recommending. And it was taking up a lot of my time, and nothing was really growing. It was basically a full-time job for me at the beginning, and I was kind of living off of savings doing this. So I didn't have other income. I was living off of savings. So after a time, I stopped doing the handpicked ones and just started doing the kind of daily roundup posts. But that still could take, several hours a day, or on Wednesdays following the Tuesday, the big release day, that could take 6 to 8 hours to do. Then I started doing videos on top of that, some teaching reviews and things like that, but I was learning as I went. And so, they weren't always the highest quality. I was just using my phone, and I didn't really have a great camera setup or lights or things like that. So after a while, I started focusing just on the Kickstarter weekly. And I would go over, the campaigns that I thought looked the best, but I also tried to kind of hit everything. And this has kind of evolved for a while. It became the Crowdfunding Roundup, which is what I'm doing now. And most recently, I've been doing these 3 times a week. There's the one that just covers all of the Tuesday releases, and so that's kind of a big video. And then I would do one at the end of the week that covered like Thursday and Friday, and that was a super short video. So I also started talking about handpicked releases that would be completing funding the following week, just sort of a last chance for people. And then on the video after the weekend, I'd cover everything that came out over the weekend. And because those videos were usually short, I would also talk about games that I played. Now, the thing is, I've been doing this for like a number of years, and my channel still only has like 200 subscribers. And for all of you who are subscribers, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here and watching everything that you have. But a lot of times my videos still are struggling to get, 100 views. And there's people like Alex at Board Game Co. who started at the same time that I started, and his videos are getting tens of thousands of views. And, he's making money off of this. Now, one of the reasons that I think I haven't been accelerating to the same level is that I have actively been not doing Kickstarter videos. And there's a reason for that. I wanted to do something differently. I wanted to be more like Siskel and Ebert and have, a distance from the publishers. I didn't want to get into a situation where I was just producing marketing for publishers, and then I was kind of beholden to them based on what I said or didn't say about their latest games. I wanted to be, more neutral and be able to review games from an objective standpoint and not have that relationship with publishers. There are a lot of publishers out there I love, and I would love to have relationships with them, theoretically. But for what I'm trying to do, I want to be serving the community more and the gamer. And so I don't want to have, that relationship kind of getting in the way of things, whether that means they no longer want to, send me games, or just if my affiliation with someone creates doubt about my objectivity. So my goal here has always been to get to the point that I have a Patreon going and generate any income that I would need, both from YouTube marketing and from Patreon. However, because I don't have the visibility that producing Kickstarter videos would give me and has given so many other content creators, the channel has kind of just not blown up. It's sat here as a well-kept secret. And a lot of that also means I haven't been able to expand the channel that much because I don't have money coming in. I'm still living off of savings. I'm still full-time doing this, funding this off of savings and not having any other income. And I'm okay to do that for a while longer, but that's, I have a wife, I need health insurance, I need income, I have to pay rent. So I need to get to the point where I am making income from my business model to be able to stay, in business. So what I've done now is I've condensed these videos down to one video, and I think there are some games that I was covering in the past that the majority of people probably aren't that interested in. So this is now going to come out once a week, and I'm going to try to hit everything that I think is of note that people actually want to see. And that's going to give me a lot of extra time. And as a one-man operation, so everything I shoot, I don't have a partner, I don't have a Monique to mind Naveen, there's not two people shooting and editing videos, and I don't have, editors that I'm paying, I'm editing everything myself. So I'm doing everything. And there's also a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. My wife has had brain surgery, and then a seizure, and then panic disorder, and all these things that have affected her health, which means I've had to pick up a lot of slack around the house, just doing things, dishes and laundry and all that kind of stuff, which everything cuts into my time as a resource. We also got a puppy during the pandemic, and so I had to spend a lot of time with the puppy because they take tons of time. So he's now 2 years old, and I should have less time that I need to be spending on him. And Kristen's doing better, so I should have less time that I need to spend kind of overcompensating for things around the house. But I'm still a one-man operation, and I'm doing everything myself. And I think the best way that this channel is going to succeed, and the way that I'm going to be producing the content that I ideally want to be producing, is to just forward as quickly as I can to doing teach and review videos with better equipment, to get my studio space upstairs kind of all in order and set up. And there's some things that have to happen behind the scenes for that to happen, which I'm still working on, and then live streaming videos. So ideally, I'd like to keep in the loop, looking at Kickstarter videos and continuing to do this once a week. But I want to get to the point where I'm producing really nice looking teach and review videos and reviewing games objectively, where I can treat them as a work of art if they deserve it, but I can also be critical of them in a way that maybe other content creators aren't, because they have this ongoing relationship with publishers. I don't want to be mean's sake, but I want to serve the public, serve you guys, and let you know honestly, what are problems with games, when there are problems, or the strengths and weaknesses, and oftentimes maybe even who this game is right for and who it's not right for. But I want to have the objectivity that I wouldn't be able to have with a lot of publisher relationships, and I want to approach this as Siskel and Ebert approached movies. And I also want to do a lot of live streaming and showcase off a lot of big campaign games and solo games, and play those with you and kind of share them and have those experiences together. So I've accumulated a lot of games over the last few years. I've got so many games ready to go. I know some of the big campaign games I'm itching to get to and I'm trying to save to do on stream are Chronicles of Drunagor, Oath into the Deepwood, Midara, and Aeon's Trespass Odyssey. So those are 4 big campaign games I hope to get to with my friend Ryan. And there are also a lot of solo things I'd like to get to. Like if I was already live streaming, I'd be doing a full campaign play of Legacy of You right now. I'd be doing Under Fallen Skies. I'd be playing a lot of chip theory stuff. I'd be playing the Hex Explore games. I'd be showing you all the solo modes of Vital Lacerda games. I'm also a really... I like dungeon crawlers and kind of narrative games, but I'm also a big Euro gamer. So I want to get a lot of Euro games streaming. I'd eventually like to carve a niche that's somewhere in between like Joel Eddy of Drive-Thru Games, Paul Grogan of Gaming Rules, and Heavy Cardboard. But I want this to be intimate, and I want you to share these games with me. And I don't want to just be spending all of my time and energy kind of showcasing and marketing games. I want to be playing the games with you and having this be, you know, a shared experience. And I also want to use some of the knowledge that I've acquired spending all this time on games to showcase off the strengths and weaknesses of games and to be able to review games with a very critical, objective eye and to do it in a way that looks pretty. So I think cutting down these 3 videos to 1 video a week is going to allow me to kind of do all this behind the scenes work and get to those kinds of content as quickly as possible. And I think once I'm producing those kinds of content, that will generate a lot more interest and views. And then I'll be opening up a Patreon campaign. And then hopefully the channel in the next year will be able to grow to the point that it can be self-sustaining. So that's kind of my overall direction right now for the channel and where I'm hoping to go with it. I just know that not having that content coming out, it doesn't matter if I know it's coming. It can't really drive the channel. So I have to get to the point where I'm producing it and then hope that it has the effect that I hope it will have, and that it will, you know, generate the audience that I think would like to see it. So if you've listened to all of this explanation, thank you very much. I've appreciated all of your viewership and patronage over the last few years. And hopefully there's going to be a lot of really cool big things to come from the new Teach and Review series and live streaming games and a Patreon where people will be able to support the channel if they can, and also have a say in what content I'm producing, from the games that I'm reviewing to the games that I'm live streaming, including solo stuff, including big campaign games, including Euros, which when I get to that point, I'll have more people playing. So it'll be, that's the side that'll look a little more like Heavy Cardboard. But that is where the channel is hopefully going. And fingers crossed, if I kind of consolidate what I'm doing right now and budget my time correctly and use my time correctly, we'll be able to get there. And this channel will grow into, you know, one of the bigger channels, and then it'll be self-sustaining, and everyone who's watching now will be able to say, hey, I was there for the beginning. So again, thank you. Please, if you haven't done it yet though, like and subscribe. That's the biggest way that you can support me right now, and it's a huge support. It's huge to know that people are watching, and there is, you know, some viewership and some subscribees as we're taking this journey, which I'm hoping is going to pay off in big ways in the next 6 months to a year in terms of the kind of content that I can put out and the kind of experiences that we can all have together. So until next week, next Wednesday, and the next crowdfunding roundup, take care, play lots of great games, and I'll see you very soon.